Hi guys, so today we will look into some Java interview questions for freshers. So this is the part one that I am covering here, and I will upload the second part also. So let's start with some Java interview questions for freshers. So the first question is, the interviewer may ask you, why is Java a platform independent language? So basically Java is a platform independent language. We can say that we can we can compile a Java program, and we can run on any platform. That means we can run it on any operating system. Like we have a Windows operating system, we have a Linux operating system, we have a Mac operating system. So once we have a compiled version of our Java source code, we can run that particular code into multiple machines. So it basically follows the principle of VORA, that means write once, run anywhere. We can understand it through a diagram here. Let's say we have a Java program which is written on Windows operating system, and after this we compile this Java code using Java C, and once we compile this Java program, it will be converted into a dot class files, and this dot class file will contain the bytecode. So these bytecodes are generated after compiling the program. So once we have a bytecode, or we can say we have a dot class file, we can go to the Windows operating system, and we can run that particular Windows operating system, and we can also run the bytecode on a Linux operating system. We can also run that dot class file on Mac operating system, but the final output will be the same for all of these operating system program. Okay, so this is the main thing, that that's why the Java is a platform independent language. Okay, moving to the next question, why is Java not a pure object oriented language? The reason behind is that Java uses some primitive data types like byte, boolean, char, short, int, float, long, double. So that's why we can say that Java is not a pure object oriented programming language. So the basic examples of pure object oriented programming language are Smalltalk, Self, and etc, etc. Okay, moving to the next question, how is Java different from C++? Let's see the difference. What are the difference between the Java and C++? Okay, so in C++, C++ is a compiled language. Okay, whereas in case of Java, it is a compiled as well as interpreted language. That means once you have a compiled version of your source file, you can run it. You can only have to run that particular compiled version. So you don't need to compile every time. Okay, whereas in case of C++, we can run only in the machine in which it is compiled. Whereas in case of Java, as we see in one of the previous slides, Java programs are machine independent. That means we can write once and run anywhere on any operating system. Okay, the next difference is C++ allows users to use pointers. So in case of C++, we have to use the pointers, whereas in case of Java, there is no concept of pointers, because Java internally uses the pointers. Okay. The next difference is C++ supports the multiple inheritance, but in case of Java, Java does not support the multiple inheritance because of ambiguity, and because of this ambiguity, it produces a diamond problem. Okay, moving to the next question, what do you understand by an instance variable and a local variable? See, instance variable is a variable that is defined inside a class but outside of the method. Okay, like in this example, we can see that there is a class student, and we have three variables: roll number as an integer, student name as a string, college name as a string. So these variables are defined inside a class, so we can say that these variables are instance variables. Now what about local variables? Local variables are those variables which are defined inside a block, inside a function, or a constructor. Okay, so these are called local variables, and the scope of those variables are restricted to those blocks only. So that means if you define a variable inside a method, that means the scope of that variable is only limited to that method only. If you define a variable inside a constructor, that means the scope of that variable is restricted to that constructor only. Like for example, if we have a method like get student details, that means and inside that detail in this method we have a roll number as an integer, student name as a string, and college name as a string also. So these variables are defined inside a get student details method only. So the scope of these variables are only restricted to this method only. To understand better instance variable and local variable, let's write a class name as student, and inside this student class we have three variables: roll number, student name, and college name. And inside this student class we have also a constructor with three parameters, and also we have a method name as get student details. So if we talk about what are the instance variables here, so instance variables are only these three instance variables, like a roll number, student name, and college name, because these variables are defined inside a class but outside the method scope. Okay. And what about local variables? Local variables are these local variables, the variables which are defined inside the constructor and which are defined inside the get student details method. Okay. Let's move to the next question. What are the default values assigned to variables and instances in Java? As such, there is no default values assigned to a variable or instance, and we need to initialize the values before using it. If we don't initialize those variables and we are using those variables, then it will throw a compilation error. So we have to initialize those variables. But if we create the object, we can have the power of default value initialized to those variables or instances. Let's say for in this case, for example, we have a my class as a class, and the reference variable is as obj. So it will, the default value of this references will be null only. And in case of numeric variables, we have a value as 0, and for boolean we have a value as a false as a default value. Okay. Now next question is, what do you mean by data encapsulation? So data encapsulation is something which binds the data and the method code as a single unit. So by encapsulating a class variable, other classes cannot access them. That means if you encapsulate a class variable, other class cannot access them. Okay. And only those methods which are defined inside the class can only access those variables. So we can explain in this way: a class which has a method and which has a variables are treating as a single unit. Now the next question is, can you tell the difference between equals method and equality operator in Java? See, both equals and equals to both are used to compare the values inside it. Okay. But the main difference is equals to will compare the references, whereas in case of equals method it will compare the actual value. Okay. It will compare the actual value. Let's understand with a example here. Let's say we have two variables here, str1 equals to Java, and another variable str2 with the same value. Okay. Now we want to sys out like this. str1 dot equals str2. Okay. Now let's understand first what is this program. In the first line, str1 is equals to Java. It will be stored in a constant string constant pool, and in the second line it will also refer to the same constant pool with the same value. That means the same string it will refer. Okay, so in this case, when we execute this program, let's execute this program and let's find out what is the output of this program. So you can see for the first line it is returning as true, and for the second line it is also printing as true. Why? Because in this case, in the first line, str1 is equals to str2, it is comparing the references here. So so for both the variables, the value is same. That means it is referring to the same value. Okay, so that's why it is printing as true. Whereas in case of str1 dot equals to str2, it will return also true because the value in both the variable is same. That means for str1 is equals to Java and str2 is also Java. Okay, now let's modify this code with a new variation. Let's say str2 is equals to new string and we say Java. Now in this case, both the string variable have the same value. Like in string str1, it is having the value Java, and str2 having the value same as Java. But in this case, that is which is already there. Uh, in this case, in this line, it is referring to a constant string constant pool for in which the value is Java, and for str2 it is pointing to a new object. And objects are stored in heap memory, so it is pointing to a new objects. So let's understand and run this program. Now if you see that this line print as false. Why? Because str1 is pointing to a string constant pool and str2 is pointing to a new object in heap memory. That's why it is returning false. But in case of str1 dot equals str2, it is returning true because both the string variable having the same value. So if we modify this variable value, let's say Java R, then it will also return as false. Okay. Okay, so understand in a diagram way, we will have two variables, string str1 and str2 as the Java as a value. So in this case, it will point to a constant pool space in memory. So this constant pool will contain this string value Java, and both str1 and str2 will point to Java. Okay, whereas in the second case, we have str1 is equals to Java and str2 is equals to new string Java. So in this case, str1 will point to the constant pool string value. Okay, and in case of str2, it will point to a heap memory object value here. Okay, now moving to the next question. How is an infinite loop declared in Java? Okay, infinite loop is something in which there is no condition in it, so it will be run infinitely. Okay, like for example, for loop we have a syntax like for, and inside the parenthesis we have semicolon semicolon. So this will be also treated as an infinite loop. Using while loop, we can have a while infinite loop like while, and inside the parentheses we have true. In case of do while, we have a syntax like do and the body of do, and at the end of body of do we have a while, and inside the while we have a true as a value. So it will also treat it as a infinite loop. Now explain constructor overloading with an example. So constructor overloading is something in which we have a multiple constructor with different signature, or we can say different arguments, or we can say different parameters. Like in this case, we have a class as a student, and inside this class we have a student parameter, student constructor here. So this is also a parameterized constructor, and we have also one more parameterized constructor student. But in both the constructor we have different parameters. Like in this case we have three parameters, and in this case we have two parameters. Okay, now moving to the next question, can the main method be overloaded? Yes, we can overload a main method. Okay, and we can create as many as main methods in our class, but it is the responsibility of Java to execute that particular main method which has a predefined definition. What is this predefined definition? Is the predefined definition of main method is public static void main string args. Okay, let's understand with an example here. Okay, let me remove this code as we have previously. So let's write a sys out here, and we will say main method here. Okay, and let's copy this method for 3 times. Okay, now for all of those 3 we will change the arguments here and also the sysout. So this is for char and the sysout is char, and this is for float and the sysout is also float. Okay, now the predefined definition is public static void main string and args, and all others are not a predefined definition of main method. So only the output of this program will be main method, not int, not char, not float. Okay, let's execute this program. See, you can see that the output of this program is main method. Okay, so this is the end of this interview questions for freshers on Java. So if you like this video, and if it is beneficial for you, and it provides some knowledge to you, then please subscribe, and please share your comments on it. And if you want to make any improvement in it, please comment on this video, and I hope this like to you, and have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.